Hello guys, so let's get started with Bitcoin. So what is actually Bitcoin now? Bitcoin is some form of digital money that was made out of combinations of concepts and technologies used by computer science, and they create some fully distributed peer-to-peer system. So what does this mean now? Bitcoin is completely decentralized money. So nobody controls it. It's completely decentralized. Everybody can join, everybody can make a ledger. Nobody is locking down your ledger. That's the good thing here. The unit of this currency itself is also called Bitcoin. So that's the unit of the currency. It's an open source software, so anybody can access it. You just need to install it and you can work with it. So totally free, use it. It's usable via smartphone, PC, or any other internet device that is connected to the internet. So now you may be asking who created Bitcoin or who is the founder of it, and actually we don't know exactly. We don't know who he is. It's a pseudonym, it could be a person, it could be a group, nobody really knows. He was always anonymously, and he was called Satoshi Nakamoto. He was the one who created some white paper in 2008, and in this white paper he was somehow making this concept. He was describing this design, how it should look like. And on 3rd January 2009, the first block, the Genesis block, was created. So this was the first block of the blockchain from Bitcoin. This was the launch of the main network. So Satoshi himself, he actually, in the early days, he mined 1 million Bitcoin. So this guy or group, we don't know, he owns 1 million Bitcoins. He never moved it, we don't know who he is, but it also really doesn't matter because we have this new technology now. So 21 million is the hard cap of Bitcoin. This means there can never be more. That's the maximum supply. 21 million Bitcoins is the maximum. So why should we use now Bitcoin? The thing here is, the main thing, banks have control over our money. Banks are printing new money all the time if they need it, or at least the government is doing that and then giving it to the banks. So Bitcoin is totally decentralized. Bitcoin can be owned by everyone. It's everybody can join, everybody can create his own ledger, nobody can lock down your ledger. And it's also like this, that traditional money is inflationable, so banks are creating new money. Bitcoin has a hard cap. Not all cryptocurrencies have that, but Bitcoin has a hard cap of 21 million Bitcoins. You can also almost instantly send money somewhere worldwide. So with no time, not so much time like with banks, because banks, for example, you have to wait sometimes 2 to 3 days or even more until a transaction is happening there. And also you have bank holidays and so on. Bitcoin, you can do it 24/7. And this system is also pseudo anonymously. So this means that you can't be totally anonymously if you're using it correctly, but also everybody can see how the money moves. So it's not bound to you, to the person itself. It's bound to an address, and you can check everything that happened with this address. So if you want to use it, you can use it anonymously, or you can also use it so everybody knows who you are. And it's a public ledger, everybody can read it. And everybody can check the balances of all the Bitcoin accounts. So how does this work now? The balance itself is actually stored in blockchain. So that's the first important thing, the blockchain, that is where the balance is and so on. Then we have these transactions that are signed by some private key, by this hand like we had in our example. So this is something also important, that is to show the ownership. So who owns these Bitcoins? And processing is done via mining. So mining is this where a lot of the transactions are then put in the block. So this is actually where the miners, they have to show that they are working. So proof of work it's called in Bitcoin. That's the concept, this algorithm they use. And this is the consensus, so they have to show that they have a lot of computer power, so the CPU power or something else, and that's like some vote or something like that. And this allows them to make new blocks. And this process also solves some problem called this double spending problem. Who is now the owner of Bitcoin? What's the ownership? So actually nobody owns it. So all people can distribute to it. You can work with it. You can check on GitHub. That's the repository where everybody, the developers are working, and you can also contribute there. There is a core team by that. So there's also a team of developers working on new versions of Bitcoin. They are sometimes releasing new versions. And nodes and miners and everybody who is using this software, they have to update this after some time. They have to use the new version. They have to confirm them. And it's not like in Ethereum, for example, in this other cryptocurrency. There we have some main guy who has a lot of power. He's called Vitalik. But in Bitcoin we have this core team. Like they are the main guys here. So the Vitalik has a lot of power in Ethereum, for example. Then the Balansphere blockchain. So how does this look like? So transactions are stored in blocks. So all transactions that came are taken by the miner, put in the block. And they're used then in a chain, in this blockchain, and they're stored permanently there. So nobody, after some blocks, these blocks underneath, they are totally secure or almost secure, because nobody can change that. That's permanent. And transactions are bound to Bitcoin addresses. So Bitcoin addresses have some transactions. It's a publicly visible ledger. Anybody can look into it. It's like some database. So blockchain is like a database. You have read access. You can check everything. So who owns what and so on. Balance consists of transactions. So actually your balance is not like you have one Bitcoin and so on. It's made out of multiple transactions in Bitcoin. In Ethereum it's different. Bitcoins can be divisible, so they can be down to 8 decimals. So it's called Satoshi. You can see it's like 0.0000, even, it's a lot of small amount you can send to someone. So it's not like our fiat money. You can send really small amount of money to someone if needed. Then signing of transactions. So how is this happening? How can we show our ownership, that we own this money? This is done by some private key, like we said with our hand in the example before. It's used for signing, and you also have sometimes you have some kind of some seed. There's some form of backup where what you're writing down. So if you use some hardware wallet, what we will also explain later, you get a seed that you note down on some paper, and this is like the access, your backup of your bitcoins. So it's an asymmetric cryptography. So private public key. It's like a PIN and IBAN on your bank account, for example. So private key is the PIN or your password where you have to access, where you can control everything, and public key is your IBAN. So that you know how it's looking in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And this technology actually is already in use since 1974. So this private public key, so it's really old technology actually, and it's some elliptic curve algorithm. So the processing we are mining, how is this done? How are all our transactions then put in the block and then confirmed and so on? This is done by miners, and this is called proof of work algorithm. So they are doing some proof of work by CPU power, and in Bitcoin every block is around 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes a new block is generated and transactions are added there. For miners it's like that the first one who solves this cryptographically hash, so who solves this puzzle, he will get the reward. and when he does that, new bitcoins are generated. So every time a new block is found, somebody gets some bitcoins. Currently, I think 12.5 bitcoins, and it's all the time getting reduced. But that's what miners are getting. So this is some amount that nobody owned before, and now some miner gets it. And difficulty increases over time. Transactions of peoples are stored in block and verified, so no double spending allowed. So for you can also check out a website. It's called blockchain.com, the Explorer actually, where you can check. It's like some Google search for blockchain for Bitcoin, where you can check all the new blocks that are generated, who mined them, so what are the mining pools, how old are these blocks, what transactions are coming in, how much transactions are there every day, what's the market cap, what's the hash rate, everything really important for Bitcoin you can look up there. It's one of the main sites used for blockchain. So thank you for watching for this video. So I hope I gave you a good introduction into Bitcoin, and I hope I see you soon.